Welcome to Essential Understanding, FSAT, an in-depth look at essential oils and their applications for your life. My name is Cassandra. I am a certified aromatherapist, a member of the National Association of Homeopathic Aromatherapy, a wife to a wonderful husband, a mother and educator to 3 beautiful children, and a follower of Jesus Christ. The information provided in this video series is not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition. Rather, I will focus on wellness through self-care, utilizing essential oils. This is video 3.2. We will look at some research behind that has been conducted on essential oils. All of these research studies can be found at the NAHA.org site and additional research studies that are also available. I was going to present 4, but after going through the video, it was just so lengthy. I wasn't able to cut it under to provide enough information and cut it under 30 minutes. So I'm going to only do 3. But like I said, the other research that I was going to present and additional research is available on their site for you to look at. And in addition, there's a lot of data and a lot of charts that I won't be showing you. So if you want to see all of that, the information that is in the research studies, you can visit the sites, take a look at these particular articles, and find that for yourself. But I'm going to be presenting the objective, the essential oils used, and some of the testing results and the conclusion of the study. So this first one is the antibacterial activity of essential oils and their major constituents against respiratory tract pathogens by gaseous contact. Abstract. The antibacterial activity of 14 essential oils and their major constituents in the gaseous state was evaluated against Haemophilus influenza, Streptococcus pneumonia, Streptococcus pyogenes, and Staphylococcus aureus. For most essential oils examined, H. influenza was the most susceptible, followed by S. pneumonia and S. pyogenes, and then S. aureus. Penicillin susceptible and resistant S. pneumonia were comparable in susceptibility. E. coli, which was used as a control, showed least susceptibility. A minimal inhibitory dose, MID, was introduced as a measure of the vapor activity. Among 14 essential oils, cinnamon bark, lemongrass, and thyme oils showed the lowest MID, so they needed the least amount of those 3 oils to get a result, followed by essential oils containing terpene alcohols as major constituents. The essential oils containing terpene ketone, ether, and in particular hydrocarbon had high MIDs. The vapor activity on short exposure was comparable to that following overnight exposure, and rapid evaporation was more effective than slow evaporation of essential oils. The vapor concentration and absorption in agar of essential oils reached a maximum 1 or 2 hours after rapid evaporation. These results that indicated that the antibacterial action of essential oils was most effective when at high vapor concentration for a short time. Essential oils are known to possess antimicrobial activity, which has been evaluated mainly in liquid medium. Systematic evaluation of the vapor activity was first reported by Marizella and Cajones in 1959, using the inverted Petri dish technique. The technique in which a volatile compound placed in a cup or paper disc was exposed in the inverted agar medium plate, inoculated with test strains at about 5 millimeters distance, was convenient and has been used by subsequent researchers. Under these conditions, the airspace was too small to measure the vapor concentration of essential oils. We employed an airtight box of 1 liter air capacity for the measurement of vapor activity, so they used an airtight box for this experiment. Although evaluation of cinnamon bark oil against respiratory tract mycosis has been reported, there are no reports describing vapor activity of essential oils against major bacterial respiratory tract pathogens. So these are the results. All of the essential oils examined exhibited antibacterial activity, which generally increased in the following order: E. coli, so they were the pathogen that was least disturbed or changed or altered by the essential oil in order from least to greatest. E. coli, S. aureus, Streptococci, H. influenza. No cross-resistance was observed between penicillin-resistant and susceptible S. pneumonia, and no significant difference in susceptibility between S. pneumonia and S. pyogenes was identified. Among the 14 essential oils, cinnamon bark, lemongrass, and thyme, wild and red oils showed the highest activity, inhibiting 6 strains, 12.5 milligrams per liter of air, with the exception of lemongrass oil, which exhibited weak activity against E. coli. Perilla, thyme, geraniol, peppermint, tea tree, coriander, and lavender spike and true oils showed moderate activity against all isolates except E. coli. However, tea tree and coriander oils showed activity against E. coli comparable to that against other strains. Eucalyptus radiata oil, especially citron oils, were weakest in activity. So we'll get over to here. So all that I just flipped through is just the information of each the constituent that was in the oils that were observed to be most effective for fighting off the different strains and the results. So I do recommend to you that if you want to see the full chart, the full results and the study, that you do take a look at this. But I'm just giving you the summary of it at this point. Summarizing these results, we conclude that antimicrobial action of essential oils by gaseous contact is most efficient when exposed at high vapor concentration for a short time. The results obtained in this investigation suggested that a maximal vapor level of 0.1 to 0.9 milligrams per liter in air may suppress the growth of bacterial pathogens of respiratory infection. This level is slightly higher than required for the suppression of experimental cough in guinea pigs. Before the vapor therapy of essential oils is applied in clinical practice, important factors such as minimal exposure time for efficiency and the bacterial vapor concentration should be determined in addition to the safety assessment. So, a higher concentration at for a shorter amount of time is the most effective for fighting off these pathogens. So something we do in our house, something that we have found to support our respiratory system, is the vapor steams with a towel over our head. You can do a shower one, get the steam going in the shower, in the bathroom. However, for a short burst of the essential oils, the highest concentration in the short amount of time, I do an over towel single use. So I fill a bowl with garlic and apple cider vinegar and my essential oil of choice. I wait for that first, but just garlic and apple cider to begin with. Heat a pot of water, make sure it's clean water, not tap water. Pour the water in while the kids have the towel over their head near the bowl. Be careful with that because you can burn them. And then while the towel is over them and the bowl, I stick my hand under and pour in the essential oil. I usually do up to 5 to 7 drops of my choice of oil. I do use cinnamon. We love the scent, and it's very effective for supporting the respiratory tract. However, I will say that this does burn. It will burn your nasal passages. It will burn your throat. It won't scar you, and it will only take about 10 seconds before that burning sensation. The deeper you breathe, the more it will burn, but the quicker you will expel the buildup in your nasal passages and in your throat. My 6-year-old does this. My 10-year-old does this. My 11-year-old does this. My husband and I both do this. We found it very beneficial for us to do this, but I wouldn't recommend using it probably for younger children, as their susceptibility to irritation is much higher, and just their comfort level. For us, I tell the kids to turn their head to the side instead of bringing their head out from underneath the towel if they need to cough, and it does really make a difference. So that's something we use for a high concentration in a short amount of time vapor steam. So this next one here is differential effects on blood pressure in female patients with urinary incontinence undergoing urodynamic examination. Incontinence or uncontrolled bladder activity can be very disruptive. This condition in women may be due to problems in childbirth, aging, or infection, among other causes. Diagnosis of incontinence are made by utilizing urodynamic measurements, a variety of methods estimating bladder and urinary function. As this testing is intimate and can be embarrassing and uncomfortable, it can increase patient stress, interfering with the testing process. Previous studies have reported that lavender essential oil promotes muscle relaxation and attenuates anxiety in vivo. Linalool, a compound found in lavender, is reported to modulate signaling upstream of muscle movement. In addition, clary sage essential oil has been shown to attenuate both depression and stress either in vivo or clinically. This double-blind randomized control trial investigated the potential effects of the inhalation of lavender, clary sage, or almond oil, which was used as control, on stress alleviation in women undergoing urodynamic assessment. Patients, the number of 45 patients, were randomly assigned to receive either 5% volume of lavender or clary sage essential oil and an almond carrier oil, or almond oil alone, which was the control. Patient dropouts included 5 from the control group and 3 each from both the lavender and the clary sage group. No reasons were given for the dropouts. This resulted in a total of 12 for both the lavender and the clary sage groups and 10 for the control group, so a total of 34 patients. Included patients were diagnosed with incontinence and undergoing urodynamic examination. They were over the age of 20 and had fully functional sense of smell and no allergies to the treatment. They also were not being treated for any psychiatric disturbances, were not smokers or alcohol drinkers, and had no chronic illnesses. If patients were examined longer or shorter than 1 hour, they were excluded. Almond oil and both the clary sage and lavender essential oil produced from flowers were provided for the study by Aromat Company, Rottingen, Germany. Compounds in both treatment oils were detected by gas chromatography mass spectrometry, GCMS. Major volatile compounds of lavender oil were linalool acetate, 38.5%, linalool, 33.3%, and terpenin, 2.1%. In clary sage oil, linalool acetate was 63.7%, which is double that of lavender, almost double that of lavender. Linalool, 17.7%, which is about half of lavender. And A-terpenol, 2.5%, were the major volatile components. For the study, 2 milliliters of oil were placed on pads, and patients inhaled while pads were kept 30 centimeters from their nose. Inhalation continued for 60 minutes, concurrent with the urodynamic assessment. A questionnaire was used to assess stress, both physical and psychological. In addition, blood pressure, pulse, and respiratory rates were evaluated for both prior to and following urodynamic assessment. Measurements of salivary cortisol were also taken at the same time of day, prior to and after the urodynamic exam. Patients, all female, were average age of 56.2 years of age. Urge urinary incontinence, UUI, was diagnosed in 6 patients, with 13 patients suffering from stress urinary incontinence, SUI. A mix of incontinent types were found in 15 patients. No significant difference was reported between groups for baseline stress scores, blood pressure, or pulse and respiratory rates. As compared to baseline, the clary sage group had significantly decreased systolic blood pressure, SBP, after 60 minutes of inhalation. SBP of the clary sage group was also significantly less than that of the control and lavender group after the study. Additionally, diastolic blood pressure, DPBP, was significantly decreased in the clary sage group from baseline. DBP of this group was also significantly less than those in lavender group. In comparison to the control group, respiratory rates of those in the lavender and clary sage groups were significantly less. There was no significant difference detected in pulse rates or salivary cortisol concentrations across the study. In summary, patients who inhaled clary sage essential oil were found to have decreased in multiple stress parameters. Also, those in the lavender group experienced decreased respiratory rates. While both contain linalool acetate, it is detected in the largest amount in clary sage essential oil and may act on smooth muscles in the vasculature to decrease blood pressure. The lack of effect of lavender oil may be due to its diuretic actions, which may have caused bladder sensitivities and therefore increased level of stress during urodynamic examination. The authors also note that clary sage essential oil may be acting on dopamine pathways due to the limited bioactivity observed with inhalation of lavender essential oil. It is posited that this oil may not be useful for blood pressure reduction during urodynamic assessment. In conclusion, the inhalation of 5% clary sage essential oil is potentially useful in mitigating stress caused by urodynamic exams in those suffering from incontinence. So clary sage, not lavender, is the most effective in reducing stress. Lavender does have a diuretic effect, so it will cause, if you are already somebody that suffers from incontinence, or that I know for myself because I've had 3 children, I always have to go. I walk by a bathroom and I think, might as well because I'm here, because I know I'll get 5 steps away and have to go anyways. So clary sage can help to reduce the stress that is caused by that. And not only that, but just life in general. Life is stressful. So clary sage, not lavender, is the most effective based on this study for reducing stress. So this last one here is the effects of fragrance inhalation on the sympathetic activity in normal adults. The sympathetic activity, system is your fight or flight system. So this was accepted in August 2002 We investigated the effects of fragrance inhalation on sympathetic activity in normal adults subjects using both power spectral analysis of blood pressure fluctuations and measurements of plasma catecholamine levels. Fragrance inhalation of essential oils such as pepper oil, estragon oil, fennel oil, or grapefruit oil resulted in 1.5 to 2.5 fold increase in relative sympathetic activity, representing low frequency amplitude of systolic blood pressure, compared with the inhalation of an odorless solvent, triethyl citrate. In contrast, fragrance inhalation of rose and patchouli oil caused a 40% decrease in relative sympathetic activity. Fragrance inhalation of pepper oil induced a 1.7-fold increase in plasma adrenaline concentration compared with resting state, while fragrance inhalation of rose oil caused a 30% decrease in adrenaline concentration. Our results indicate that fragrance inhalation of essential oils may modulate sympathetic activity in normal adults. So, there's certain oils that will stimulate that systematic nervous system, and there will be oils that, like rose and patchouli, which will calm it down. So these are the subjects used. Subjects 43 healthy female, ages 22 to 25 years of age, who had some experience in using perfumes in their daily life, participated in the present study. The experimental procedure were explained to subjects, and signed document of informed consent was obtained from each subject. Fragrance compounds. As test samples, we used 6 types of essential oils. Natural mixture of fragrance compounds: pepper oil, grapefruit oil, estragon oil, fennel, patchouli oil, and rose oil. Pepper oil, estragon oil, fennel, patchouli oil, and rose oil were obtained from corns of pepper, entire plant of tarragon, seeds of fennel, leaves of patchouli, and flowers of rose, respectively by steam distillation. Grapefruit oil was obtained as a byproduct of grapefruit juice production. These essential oils are widely used in fragrance, cosmetic, and in food industries. Fragrance inhalation, each essential oil was separately dissolved at a concentration of 2%. For stimulation, one of the solution was applied to a piece of absorbent cotton, and the cotton piece was fitted under the subject's nose to inhale the fragrance of essential oil during the ordinary breathing. Subjects inhaled the fragrance of essential oils for 3 minutes, and the spectral analysis test, or for 7 minutes in the plasma catecholamine measurement test. In advance of the test, subjects were explained that odorless samples were included, but were not shown what kind of samples were inhaled for the trials. Assessment of a sympathetic activity using spectral analysis of blood pressure fluctuations. 21 healthy females, subjects ages 22 to 25 years of age, participated in this experiment. Subjects were instructed to refrain from taking any stimulants, such as nicotine and caffeine, for 12 hours before the test. Subjects were randomized to inhale 3 of 6 essential oils. Each subject was tested in 3 trials. In each trial, the subject inhaled 2 samples, essential oils and control, in random order, to examine the influence of TEC on sympathetic activity. A cotton piece without any solvent was used as the control. Subjects were seated in a reclining seat and allowed to rest for 30 minutes, and then patient monitor BP 508 SD, which measures the arterial blood pressure by using tonometric pulse pressure wave sensor, was fitted for continuous monitoring of heart rate and blood pressure in resting state. After 3 minutes, a cotton piece soaked with fragrance solution or control was fitted under the subject's nose, and the measurements of the fragrance inhaling state was performed for another 3 minutes. Changes in arterial blood pressure were analyzed with an autonomic nerve activity analysis system, which analyzes blood pressure fluctuations by using wavelet transform processing and low frequency amplitude of systolic blood pressure. It was calculated as an index of sympathetic activity at 5S intervals. Another 22 healthy female subjects, aged 22 to 25 years, participated in this additional experiment. Subjects were divided into groups of 4 to examine the effect of fragrance inhalation on sympathetic activity. Subjects were instructed to refrain from taking any stimulants, such as nicotine and caffeine, for 12 hours before the test. In this test, subjects of each group inhaled pepper oil, grapefruit oil, rose, or TEC, odorless control, separately, and plasma levels of non-adrenaline, adrenaline, dopamine were measured before and after inhalation. Subjects were seated and allowed to rest for 30 minutes, and then 5 milliliters of blood was collected from each subject to analyze the levels of catecholamines under resting state. So for the first testing group, the blood pressure was taken. They were allowed to rest for 30 minutes to see a normal baseline for resting state for their blood pressure. They were inhaled, and then the blood pressure was taken again. For this one, for the next testing group, the same thing. They were allowed to rest to see what, and their blood was drawn to see what their Their non-adrenaline, their adrenaline levels, and the one other one, I think it's the dopamine levels, under resting state, and then they inhaled, and then the blood was drawn again. So two different studies, one that was both with just machinery, and one that was done with blood work. Sorry, I lost my place there. A cotton piece was then fitted under the nose of each subject to inhale the fragrance. After 7 minutes of inhalations, 5 milliliters of blood was withdrawn into an EDTA-2Na containing tube, and this represented the post-inhalation sample. The blood samples were immediately centrifuged at 4 degrees Celsius, 2000 RPM for 10 minutes, and resulting plasma samples were stored at 80 degrees Celsius until analysis. Our results show that fragrance inhalation of pepper oil, astragon oil, fennel oil, and grapefruit oil significantly stimulates sympathetic activity measures as SBP-LF amplitude, whereas rose oil and patchouli oil inhibit such activity. So for the blood pressure that was taken, pepper oil, astragon oil, fennel, and grapefruit oil significantly increased their blood pressure, and rose oil and patchouli oil reduced their blood pressure. Our results also showed that fragrance inhalation of pepper oil induced an increase in adrenaline concentration, while inhalation of rose decreased adrenaline levels. These results were in agreement with the results of power spectral analysis of blood pressure fluctuations. These results suggested that fragrance inhalation affects the adrenaline system via the sympathetic nervous system. Our study demonstrated that noise-adjusted power spectral analysis of blood pressure is a useful method for quantitating the effect of fragrance inhalation on human sympathetic activity. It has been reported that changes in respiration pattern during the test period may affect the results of power spectral analysis of blood pressure fluctuations. Also, we used the relative sympathetic activity defined as a ratio of 2-minute average of the SBP-LF amplitudes in fragrance inhaling state to that of the SBP-LF amplitudes in resting state to compare the effects of fragrance with control. We think that these measures brought about sufficient results to examine the effects of fragrance inhalation. In this study, there were no significant changes in catecholamine levels following fragrance inhalation, apart from those of adrenaline. It has been reported that some agents, such as caffeine and melatonin, have different effects on the plasma levels of non-adrenaline and adrenaline, and the changes in non-adrenaline and adrenaline levels have not always paralleled each other. The fragrance inhalation may exert the predominant effects on the plasma level of adrenaline rather than the non-adrenaline. Further investigation employing time-lapse collection of blood and highly sensitive measurement methods such as chemoluminescence high-performance liquid chromatography is necessary to clarify the effects of fragrance inhalation on plasma catecholamine levels. It is generally known that the olfactory sense causes adaptation to odors. The sensing of odors is strong at first, but diminishes over time, in the case that the same odor is continuously smelled. In this study, each subject inhaled one sample odor for a comparably short period, 3 minutes for power spectral analysis, and the occurrence of adaptation to odors was not observed. It should be examined in the future whether adaptation to odors caused by long term of consecutive inhalation of fragrance might affect the effects of essential oils on the sympathetic activity. So the results were that essential oils do absolutely affect the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight nervous system. The adrenaline was affected when the blood tests were drawn. It was the adrenaline itself, not non-adrenaline dopamine levels, that were affected. But blood pressure also too showed an effect based off the oil that was given or that was inhaled by the subject. I really hope I gave you enough information on the research. There's just a lot of terminology here and a lot of charts. I do recommend that you look at the charts and the data for yourself so you can kind of fill in the missing pieces. I just try to give you as much as possible within a timely manner, and that would make the most amount of sense. And I know I tripped over a lot of these words, and sorry about that. But I just wanted to thank you for watching video 3.2. Video number 4, we're going to begin looking at A to Z essential oils. So we'll be actually picking out essential oils that start with A all the way down to Z. There isn't Z, but and giving you what their constituents are and what do those constituents mean. How did you understand them and pick the right ones necessary for the support that you need. I'm really excited for that because we're starting to head towards the more funner side of this. Although I do like the research and the studies, I'm not very good at giving out the terminologies. So I'm the later videos is my comfort zone, so I'm really excited for that. But I would like to thank you for watching video 3.2, and I would like to thank my sponsor, Amber Quickie Soaps, handcrafted artisan soaps made in small batch production. These are fantastic soaps. You can check out her website at amberquickysoaps.com. You can also visit her Facebook page at Amber Quickie Soaps to keep up to date on the latest creations that she has. Like I said last time, Mora Bora is one of her good top-selling ones. It smells fantastic, but she has a ton of beautiful soaps, and she is a personal friend and mentor to me. Also, please join in my Facebook group, Essential Understanding FSAT, to keep up to date on all the more information, to see inspirational and supportive memes, and I guess forgot my concentration here. Need some oils for that, but you can join in just with other people that are trying to learn and understand about essential oils. Thank you for watching. I hope you check out video number 4.